What is going on, everyone? Another edition of the Georgia-Alabama Sports Live Show. It's Thrift, Barringer. It's Richard Holdridge, and we got a great show in store for you tonight as we are ready and prepared to talk about the high school basketball playoffs. We got several teams vying for state championships, and we got several of them going to be happening this week. And we also got some Final Fours, some Elite Eights, some incredible history making being made here. We're going to talk about all those. We're also going to talk about the incredible weekend we had calling some high school baseball. What a start for the baseball season, and we had a lot of fun in doing that. And really, that's it. We're going to talk high school basketball. We're going to talk the brackets, who we think is going to do what, and then we're going to talk high school baseball, and then we're going to get out of here. And then we'll end it with where we are going to be this week. And I promise you, we're going to be some places hosting some high school basketball playoff games. I promise you that we will be doing some high school basketball playoff games here this week. Richard, what is going on, man? What an incredible week we had last week. Not many basketball, but what a way to start with baseball.
Yeah, the baseball season just came to us with a bang, and we had some incredible finishes. Most watched views in Georgia-Alabama Sports Live history, and history is being made, and I'm just excited that we're going to continue calling many baseball games.
We are presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC, Buffalo Rock, Pepsi, Gordy Eye Care, and Kinetic Credit Union. It's Rich, it's Thrift, it's Rich, whatever you want to call us. And we want to thank y'all again for tuning in. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as we want to give you all the news and notes around the Chattahoochee Valley area. I guess we'll start recap what we did last week, man. And, man, what a way to kick off baseball. The previous week we had Columbus and Harris County. Harris County really set the stage as we had a Harris County versus Marion County on Saturday. Last Monday with Harris County Columbus, which was the first baseball game of our coverage. But then this week we had Pacelli Shaw. We had Pacelli Lakeside. That's Tony Rasmus taking on his son Case Rasmus. That was fantastic. Richard, you watched that one and how much fun that was. And then let's talk about also on Friday we were able to be there for what was also on Thursday, and we also had Brookstone Columbus. On Friday we had the historic game for the first time ever. We had Glenwood taking on Central in their first time in Glenwood's 54-year history. Central's been a lot longer than that, and these schools have never faced off. And they played, and we had a fantastic game. We'll talk about that. And then on Saturday, we had Calvary Lakeside, Glenwood Russell County, Calvary Central. I mean, that's 7 baseball games. What a lot of fun we had last week, didn't we, Rich?
Oh, we sure did. I do want to recap some of that. So Sean Pacelli, it was on President's Day. Dave Plata was on the call, did a fantastic job. As obviously, when you think of Pacelli Sports, you think of Dave Plata. I happen to be his producer, so you didn't hear me on the mic, but I was able to just produce that game. And then we had you and Rex called probably the most coldest baseball game in the history.
You were there too. Games. You produced it.
I was there, freezing. Yeah, and it was absolutely freezing. Brookstone Columbus. Brookstone ends up getting a very impressive win. I'm impressed with Brookstone coming out the gate, 12-1, and then 14-2. Those are your scores. They beat Marion County on Friday in their home opener.
Yeah, and I will tell you, there are 2 teams that really stood out this past weekend, Glenwood and Brookstone, who both had dominant performances. Richard, you were there for both those Brookstone games. It's like Chong Woo Kim and the rest of the Brookstone Cougars, they just picked off where they left off last year with Greg Mathis. But then the Gators to take on Central. Let me set the mood. For one, incredible atmosphere at Darnell Nelson Field. Weather was pretty good. Obviously, there was a lot of intense. It was an intense atmosphere. There was a lot of angst in the ballpark, and it lived up to the expectations. Carter Judah started off with a 2-run home run in the first. Central battled back, ended up taking the lead at 3-2. Glenwood then tied the game at 3-3. Central took a 4-3 lead. Then we headed into the 7th, and that's when the fireworks started. McCrane tied it at 4. Andrew Wilkinson had the base hit that gave Glenwood the lead 5-4, and Kyle Lawrence had the shot heard around Phoenix City, and he had a 3-run blast Sykes was fantastic in 5 innings of work. McCrane came in relief. He was unhittable, and they ended up winning the game 8-4. I'll tell you this right now. This was a huge win for the Glenwood Gators. What it meant for them and their program, for the alumni. There was a lot of things on this game, man. A lot on this game for the Glenwood Gators to take on Central and to prove that they can play with the big dogs, if you will. And Coach Fanning's always had a top-notch baseball program, but it was standing room only at this game. We got close to 20,000 views from this Glenwood Central baseball game. It's the most viewed baseball game we've ever done, as Richard said, and in our history. And in the Battle of Phoenix City, I proclaimed that, Richard. I never heard anyone else say it, but I said it on the broadcast. In the Battle of Phoenix City, Glenwood came out on top 8-4. Central then went on to beat Russell County and Calvary. They dominated Calvary 15-0, which was a shock because Calvary beat an undefeated Lakeside team 6-1. They just came out and looked flat against the Central Red Devils. This is not indicative of how good Calvary is going to be this year, but it just set the tone. We got a bunch of good baseball programs, Richard, in our area, but I think the top 2 teams that I saw from week 2 of the baseball season would be Brookstone and Glenwood. I would put Central right there at 3rd. Harris County, Columbus, Calvary, all they're vying for that other spot. But right now, I feel like Glenwood and Brookstone in a class of their own. They have just, man, to come out in their first 2 games to dominate the way they did. These were Glenwood and Brookstone's first 2 games of the season, and to win that way, credits to Coach Mathis and Coach Fanning for having a defending champion come out playing that good.
Yeah, I don't take anything away from Calvary losing to Central 15-0. I mean, they actually put all their horses in that Lakeside school game because it was their home opener. Tommy Irving was fantastic. 6 innings of work, only gave up that moonshot that landed in Midland by Connor Britton. I know that Tony Rasmus, the one thing I love about Coach Rasmus is he loves his players. He speaks highly of his players. He's always getting on social media and talking about his team because they are a very talented bunch of people. But this Calvary team, they don't just rebuild. They reload. You got players like Cam Houston, Bryson Brooks, contributors from last year's team. I know they're missing Bailey Thorne, but they still have a fantastic team. And how about Liam Holcutt coming back from the injury in basketball? He had a 2-run double in the game they were down 1-0. He comes in, gets a 2-run double. Calvary now leads 2-1, and they never looked back. And that was a very impressive win. And it is hard to have to pack your things, head across the river to take on a Central team. I know they just played Russell County, but that's asking a lot to play a doubleheader. I mean, they're already tired. They've already played earlier that day. I don't take anything away from the Calvary loss to Central. No. I was more impressed with the 6-1 win over Lakeside School.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But what a way to bring in baseball coverage. We got a bunch of great teams. We're going to rank those teams coming up next Sunday. So when we drop our first baseball rankings of the year. But it was a great way to bring in the baseball season. Had a lot of fun doing all the games that we did. But now let's talk about what happened in basketball. Man, it's Columbus versus everyone. If you're not cheering for one of these schools that are still alive, what are you doing right now? Throw away the rivalries, throw away the hatred, the animosity, the jealousy you may have for someone else doing good. That's nonsense. We should all be cheering for these teams, Rich, and you know it, I know it, everyone out there watching should know it at this point. And let's talk about those teams. How about the Carver Tigers dominating in their 2 wins as they head to the Elite 8 for the 2nd consecutive year? Big-time gains out of Tony Montgomery. Tobias Tolbert was blocking many shots. They took care of business against Rockdale in that first game. Was it Rockdale or Rockmart? Who they played? Rutland. I don't know why I kept thinking it was Rockmart in that, but they dominated in that first game, Richard, and we fully expected that. And I've been so impressed with Carver. It has been all business for them, Richard, as they just continue to play excellent basketball. 26-2 on the season now. They beat Burke County 75-54 in the second round, and now it sets up for what is going to be a huge matchup as Spencer able to take down Crisp County in a great game, 51-49. And look at this Elite 8. Are you kidding me? Carver and Spencer, part 4, 6:30 at Carver. If we are allowed to, I've already put in the request. I want to do this game more than anything. Carver and Spencer, sign me up. We are trying to get this game on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. We are going to broadcast this game. I'm doing everything in my power. Richard is too. I've already asked the powers that may be about us streaming this game. We should be doing it for the community, and we want to be doing it. This should be a game on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. Man, this is perfect. Spencer and Carver for the right to go to the Final Four. Sign me up for that. But I want to say congratulations to Coach Quintavious Allen. Last year lost in the second round after winning the region. This year came second in the region, lost in the region tournament. But then they took care of business in week one against Sterrell, a close game. Beat Crisp County in a close game, but they won. They won at home. Coach Allen, this has been, I told him, his best coaching job, and he's already won a state championship. That is saying something, how good of a coach he's done and how great of a job he's done with his guys this year. Spencer, big win over Crisp County, and it sets up this one. I'm telling you, throw out all the other games. I understand what happened. Carver has dominated pretty much the first two, the one in the region championship. Carver had a 20-point lead, let Spencer crawl back. They end up winning by 18. I don't care about none of that. You throw that out when you have rivalries. You throw that out when you have to beat teams consecutively in a season. I cannot wait for this matchup, Richard. It's going to be a ton of fun. Richard, you're muted.
I think it's going to be a lot closer than the previous three meetings. I think that Spencer is going to give everything. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at Carver. I expect Carver High School to be packed, standing room only. However, up to this point, I know that Coach Allen made a comment on social media. Crisp County had more fans than Spencer fans.
Come on, guys.
This is a PSA to the fans in Columbus. That is embarrassing. I'm sorry. We saw this in football when Appling County had more fans than Carver fans for that semifinal game. We cannot have the visiting fans. We saw this every time Sumter County played our Columbus schools.
Right.
The fans, come on, guys. You got to show up and show out for these games. We cannot have the visiting teams try to take over our gymnasiums. We just can't. It won't be the factor for this one because it's going to be Carver and Spencer fans, though.
Exactly right. But I'm with you on that, man. And gosh, can't sign me up for this. It's going to be on the hill. It's going to be standing room only. It's going to be a pack. They may even turn you away. You make sure you get there early. I know we will. Carver and Spencer. Wow. Yeah, I just cannot wait for that on Wednesday at 6:30 from Carver. Should be a ton of fun. All right, let's go to the girls because the girls have been just absolutely fantastic, man. We'll start with Hardaway. They just obliterated Franklin County. They obliterated their first-round matchup. They won both games by over 50. They should have won Franklin County by 60. This team is on a mission. Rihanna Boynton played fantastic. A.K. Shelton to let anyone come in the paint. Deja Burrell set the tone and set the momentum of the game. And then Michaela Johnson hit shots. I honestly think Columbia is going to give them a little bit more of a test. I don't think this is going to be even close either. I think they're going to win by 20. I think Hardaway is just a class of their own in this classification. I think they're motivated and they're like a woman on a mission. They know what it takes to get to the state championship. They were moments away from winning it last year. I think they're on a way on one of those tracks where, like UConn last year, Richard, when they won every game by double digits. You know, those teams that like North Carolina in 2009 in the NCAA tournament, they just feel like they're different. Their experience, there's nothing that can phase them. That is exactly how I feel about Hardaway, and I think they're going to dominate Columbia. By the way, we are trying everything in our power to make sure we are going to be there for that game. So we're going to give you Hardaway Columbia and Carver Spencer. Richard, you'll be there with me for Hardaway Columbia. Hardaway a game away from getting back to the Final Four. How about Coach Kelly Ellison's team trying to make it 3 straight years to the Final Four? And honestly, I don't think it's going to be close of a contest. We're going to be there for it because I want to be there to support Hardaway, not because I think this is going to be a close game, because I think Hardaway is just better than everyone else, man.
I think Hardaway dominates Columbia. I think that the one bracket, I'm going to pull this up because
it's the one that
the bottom bracket.
Yes,
you look at this matchup. It could be either Thompson or Josie. The fact that Thompson was able to beat a very talented Sumter County team, team with Justinine Scott, it was a closer game. Josie ended up beating a Butler team. It was a close game. I think that the bottom of this bracket, and by the way, this is the teams that Hardaway would face in the Final Four, the winner of Thompson Josie. So I think they're going to end up beating each other up, and whoever Hardaway plays in the Final Four, I think that it's gonna be it's going to be very easy for him. Let me just say that. I'm trying to say the right words.
But I'm with you. But what about Carver Tigers, man? To go in and beat Tatnall, to go on the road and beat Carver Atlanta. Coach Hunley, and I said this to him, man. I was like, listen, the team I saw at the beginning of the year to the team I see right now, I just credit to you and your staff. They have gotten better each and every week, and they are playing 15 deep. The seniors like KK Cooper and Trinity Walker, who are hitting timely shots, but he plays close to 15 girls. And a lot of these girls are underclassmen. This is going to be a team, I promise you, that's going to be there in the future. And I am going to go Carver. They're going to be on the road at Morgan County. Morgan's really good. This is probably going to be their toughest test. But give me the Carver Tigers back in the Final Four, and it would set up potentially a Carver-Hardaway State Championship. Come on, Columbus. This is what we want. Cheer for those Carver Lady Tigers. We won't be in attendance for that, but we will be cheering them on. Coach Hunley, this has been his best coaching job. Again, he's had a lot of talent in previous seasons, Rich, and he still did a great job coaching. I don't want to take nothing away from what as a coach, you just want to make sure with talented teams, they don't get in their way. He had to actually go in the trenches this year and find out who his team is. He had to find out who his key contributors are. He has done such an amazing job with an inexperienced team and now has them back where they always are, in the Elite Eight. Did you expect anything different from a Coach Anson Hunley team? Come on, guys.
No, especially a coach that has multiple championships. He's got championships as an assistant coach. This is what Coach Hunley does. Whether Carver that made it to the Final Four last year, the year before, they made it to the Elite Eight. And what's impressive about this was they finished third. They had to go on the road. As you could see on this, they're 20th seed. They just knocked off the number 4 seed Tatnall County, and they're now taking on the number 5 seed Morgan County. I expect Carver to win this game and get to the Final Four. I do think if you go to the other bracket, they would play the winner of Murray County, Sonoraville. I mean, Murray County is the overall number 1 seed. So
right.
I don't know. They're number 1 for a reason. But I would not be shocked if it's Carver Hardaway in the championship.
I wouldn't either.
That would be the first time that it would be 2 Columbus schools since 2017 when it was Columbus Carver.
Exactly. All right, now let's move forward to the GIAA. Coach Bryant Thomas knows how to win. I know I can't sing, but he knows how to win. As Richard's trying to find that bracket, oh yeah. Keep going, Richard. That's 3A. There it is. Pacelli dominated Tatnall. Bryant Thomas's team, another one of those like Hardaway, where the disrespect. They're a 3 seed. They have not lost a GIAA game in 2 years. They've won 28 straight GIAA games. The last time they lost was in the Elite Eight back in 2023. How are they the 3 seed? Help me understand that. Please, Richard, can you help me understand it? I
can't explain it.
I work for the GIAA, and this is not – the GIAA takes the Maxwell rankings. Max Preps does a lot of these rankings and helps with the seedings. Max Preps, how in the heck are they the 3 seed? Please help me understand it, but it's okay because Coach Bryant Thomas is using this motivation. They took down Tatnall. It wasn't even close, and I'm going to be honest with you. Stratford, the 2 seed, is going to be in for a rude awakening at Columbus State. Now, we will be there broadcasting. I will be calling this game. Okay, I will be calling all Pacelli games moving forward, Pacelli, girls and boys. Now, they won't be on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. They'll be on GIAA.tv. You will have to pay to watch those games, but it'll be worth it because you get access to all the games that day. But Pacelli, 3 o'clock on Wednesday. You got nothing else going on, Thursday. Come to Columbus State, 3 p.m., affordable to get in, and watch some high-level GIAA basketball because the boys play later that night. But Pacelli, I think they're just going to take care of business against Stratford. I honestly don't think it's going to be close. I think these girls got a lot of momentum on their hands, and I think Coach Bryant Thomas knows what buttons to push, because how is Stratford ranked ahead of them, Richard? I know if I was the coach, and I know Bryant Thomas is going to do this, there's no doubt about it. He's going to say, guys, girls, they think they're better than y'all. Come on. You're the defending state champions. And I think they take care of business. But a good win for them back in the Final Four. That's back-to-back years, Pacelli in the Final Four. Congratulations, Coach Bryant Thomas. And by the way, he's done this in 3 years. It didn't like he had to take 5 or 6 years to rebuild the program. He took over a program. He rebuilt it, but he did it in 2 years, won a state championship. In 3 years, he's trying to win back-to-back.
How is Pacelli the 3 seed? Who's voting on this thing? Phil Jones? I mean, they're going to take care of business against Stratford, and I think that they take care of business against Athens Christian. Look, I know Athens Christian went to the Final Four as a GHSA school last year, but Pacelli's the defending GIAA champions. They've got everybody back. They got the freshman Jayla Kendrick that is come in and has seen a lot of playing time. Everybody's healthy. You remember they were battling injuries last year.
Yeah, they were.
We thought that they, I thought because George Walton was the number 1 seed, I thought maybe they could slip up in the championship because all year long, George Walton was the better team on paper. But Pacelli took care of business in that championship. I expect them to do the same thing at Columbus State.
I do too. Great job by them. And then for the boys, a little bit tougher than I thought. I thought they were going to win by 50. They ended up winning by 28, still dominated. And they're going to take on a really good Tatnall team that beat Stratford. That's going to be probably their toughest contest in the GIAA they've had all year since Heritage back in December. Actually, back in November. No, December. Their first game of the season. And then I think, to be honest, their biggest test is going to be against Athens Christian in that state championship game. But I don't see it a close game, Rich. I really don't. If Pacelli is playing with their head on fire and they play like they're capable of, their A game is just another class above everyone else. And I think they win by double digits. I think Tatton will keep it close in the first half, and then because they'll give a punch that Pacelli hasn't been ready for, maybe haven't seen since that Dothan game. But they're gonna smoke them, and then they're gonna play Athens Christian. And I think they're going to win the state championship as well. I think we're going to get Pacelli, back-to-back, boys and girls, winning state championships. And, man, that would be awesome for the city to be able to see that. Great job, though, with a win over Tallulah Falls. This is now 3 straight years the Pacelli Vikings have made the GIAA Final Four. It's like when you say GIAA 4A Final Four, you got to put Pacelli in that because they're going to make it, it seems like, every single season. Great job by Pacelli, the number 1 seed. And they take on Tatnall at Columbus State on Thursday, 7:30. You want to come out and watch what should be a fun day of basketball.
Thrift, we've had a lot of basketball champions in this city in this century since 2007 when Jordan won it. We've never had anybody back to back.
No.
We haven't had boys and girls win it the same year
until last.
No, with the exception of 2019 with Carver.
Yeah, Carver did it. Carver boys and girls did it, and then the last year Pacelli.
Yeah, but never back to back. So we're talking about history here, where the Pacelli girls and the Pacelli boys could end up winning back to back, and you got to put them there with the all-timers in this century. We're talking. I went back into the history books just to see the dominant run that some of these teams have had, like the 2014 Kendrick girls. And you have just the dominant runs that you've seen with these teams, and Pacelli's right there with those teams of the past.
No doubt about it, man. And they're undefeated. That winning streak now moves to 38 games. They could, by the end of the year, they will be at 40 consecutive games they have not lost. All right, let's take them off and let's talk about the Central Red Devils and Lady Red Devils. Rojetta Williams, if you're watching out there, I am so proud of you and your program. In the second year to take the Lady Red Devils back to a place they haven't been in a long, long time. That is credit to you and your staff. Jabria Lindsay in the Elite Eight game. We talked about this on Wednesday, but in the Elite Eight game, to put up 40, 16, and 5. She has cemented herself, in my opinion, as the greatest player that's come through this area. And she's only a junior. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. She still has another year of high school. That's what I'm saying. There's nobody's going to touch her in terms of numbers and scoring and everything else. And she is a win away from getting the state championship. Just like the boys, which we'll talk about in a moment. Their toughest game is going to be in that Final Four. They take on a Hoover team that's got only a few losses, the number one ranked team in the state. But I think Central has the wherewithal, the talent, the coaching staff to be able to pull off the upset. If Jabria plays like she did against Auburn and beating a team that they were 0-3 against going into that game, I'm going Central. Now, I may be picking with my heart, not my head, but if Central gets past Hoover, I think the Lady Red Devils are cutting down the net, and we could have two, not one, but two, and potentially three if Carver's able to do it, different programs where both boys and girls win a state championship. The fact that even both, we have several programs on the verge of making multiple Final Fours like we do with Pacelli. Carver's about to do it. I think the boys and the girls both win. And the Central Lady Red Devils and Red Devils both did it. I mean, gosh, the basketball in this area, it's absolutely phenomenal, man. What a season. And we got to cover all of it on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. But again, congratulations for Jetta Williams making it to the Final Four. What a season for them. And for the boys, they beat an Auburn team they had already dominated. They're 4-0 against them. And now we get the showdown. It's the number one team taking on the number two team. This should be the state championship for the boys. Same for the girls, but it's just not how it played out. They had to be in this same bracket. And I think Central is going to take down what is a 48-game winning streak, Richard. That's how many games Hoover's won in a row. 48 games. They have not lost since early last year. They have won 2 consecutive state championships. This is a momentous upset. Even though Central is uber talented, Hoover's ranked number 6 in the country, number 1 in the state. I'm taking Coach Burkett's team. I think they're gonna shock the world, and we're gonna get a Central going to the state championship. What about you, Rich?
Well, first of all, this is the only team in Alabama that we're rooting for. And you're talking about the Final Four in Birmingham, where both Central programs take on Hoover on the 27th of February. I was looking through all the brackets. This is it. The Lynette girls lost, Russell County lost, Glenwood lost, Lee Scott lost in the Elite Eight to Montgomery Academy. So all the local teams in this area, they're out.
Yep.
So these are the two teams to root for, and just the run that the Central girls are on, I can't describe it. It's just, when you have greatness will step up in the biggest moments, and that's what we have with Jabria Lindsay, finally getting over the hump, finally beating Auburn. And I think that right now the Central girls are playing with house money, and if they can knock off Hoover, I think that they're going to win the championship, because they have the toughest part of the bracket, because the other side of the bracket is Hillcrest and Daphne, and neither one of those teams were
Florence
ranked.
Florence and Daphne.
For the girls, Hillcrest, Hillcrest, and Daphne, Hillcrest, Tuscaloosa, and then Daphne.
Yeah, but for the boys, it's Florence and Daphne.
It's Florence and Daphne, yeah.
My bad. So, yeah, you're right about that, Richard. So we're going to be cheering them on. Those Final Four games are going to be, I think, on Wednesday.
Oh, they're on the 27th.
27th.
So that would
Thursday.
be
that
would be on Thursday.
So we're going to be cheering them on. Again, Chattahoochee Valley area over everyone else. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we got more here. It's Thrift and Rich, Rich and Thrift. It's Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and we'll be right back after this. You're watching right now the Georgia Alabama Sports Live show that is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile. We'll be right back after this.
I'm thirsty.
Try this.
Starry.
It's a lemon lime soda that's crisp, clear, and
So refreshing.
bro, chill. It was a soda.
Starry lemon lime soda. It's different.
Even though I'm away at college, Kinetic Credit Union is still the best way for me to stay connected here and at home. With the Kinetic mobile app, I have control of my accounts wherever I go. I can easily transfer money between internal and external accounts, get money faster by setting up recurring transfers, And I can find the nearest ATM or branch right from my phone. Plus, I can add my Kinetic cards to my phone's digital wallet and enjoy quick, secure, contactless payments. By the way, Mom, I need some more money.
Kinetic Credit Union, the energy for your dreams.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back here to Georgia, Alabama Sports Live. Richard and Thrift. Mom needs some more money. I can't not say it every time we see it, Rich. The Auburn
There's a
Tigers.
reason why I play.
Yeah, exactly.
I play that because I do you.
You love it, Rich. The Auburn Tigers got a big win over Georgia. And now with Alabama having a loss last week to a really good Missouri team. Missouri is just playing really good basketball right now. And they're vying for maybe a number 2 spot. It's Auburn, and I think they're right now in a class of their own. And they have not played good basketball. They did not look good against Georgia or Arkansas. Georgia, Broom said, get on my back and let me show you why I'm the player of the year. Against Arkansas, they need to rely on their defense, but that's what this team has made them so unique. Last year, they weren't winning in a blowout, which they won a lot of games. They won 27 games in blowout fashion, but the close games they could never finish. That's the difference between last year's team and this year's team, Richard, is that the close games are able to finish, which makes me think with the experience that they got, Richard, they have what it takes to win a national championship, to beat Georgia and Arkansas when you're going to get everyone's best shot. Everybody's seeing you want to knock you off. You're their number 1 game, and you to be able to take those shots week in and week out every single week and to win and be 13-1 in the SEC. I just credit to Bruce Pearl and his staff. Here's the thing, though. They got Ole Miss, who will be ranked, coming in on, I think, Wednesday at Neville Arena. Then the next 2 at Kentucky, at A&M, and then Alabama at home. Those are going to be 3 really tough gut punches for Auburn to have to take. They may end up losing one of those games, but I think that's all they're going to lose. And I think Auburn ends up finishing 28-3, 29-2 around there, 16-2 or 17-1 in SEC play. And I think if they able to do that, I don't care what happens in the tournament, the conference tournament. Auburn will still be a number 1 seed for the first time since 1999. Party like
Chris Porter
1999.
Chris
Richard,
Porter
what
was
you think
on
about?
that team.
Yeah, he was. What'd you think about that?
Well, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with Auburn. They've got 6 players in double figures, starting with the double-double machine, Janai Broom. Averages 18 a game, 11 rebounds. Chad Baker Mazzara, the freshman phenom, Tahad Pettiford. You got Denver Jones. You got Miles Kelly. And then you also got Chaney Johnson. And when I think of, and you still got the defensive specialist, Dylan Cardwell. They've got so much depth. And Bruce Pearl, I'm sorry, he might be right now in this moment, because Coach K's retired.
He's the best coach going right now. I agree.
The best he is the best coach, active coach. Tom Izzo's he's kind of on the way out, even though Michigan State, I would not be shocked if they get a number 7 seed and they make a Final Four run. Every time I pick my bracket, I always pick Michigan State because you never count them out in the tournament. But Auburn has got to do well in the tournament. Last time that they were in the tournament, they lose to Yale as a 4 seed. They lose to Miami in the second round as a 2 seed. If you get the overall number 1 seed, you got to at least get to the Final Four. Otherwise, it's going to be, here we go, another disappointing tournament exit for the Auburn Tigers, because I don't like throwing that term blue blood around, because when you think of the blue bloods, Kentucky, Kansas, by the way, Kansas is struggling, North Carolina is struggling, Duke, Michigan State, those are the blue bloods. Recently, I thought maybe Virginia could have been a blue blood, but you got to put Auburn there as a blue blood. I know that Florida, in those years with Al Horford and Corey Brewer and Joakim Noah, I wasn't quite ready to say that was a blue blood, although they had a very dominant run, winning 2 back-to-back titles. But I don't know. When can we start putting Auburn basketball as a blue blood? Is that too soon?
I think they're already there. I don't think your traditional words of our way of viewing blue bloods are now done, because I think there's a new blood, if you will, no pun intended on that we have in the NCAA tournament. Yeah. NCAA tournament. I'll tell you, the teams I'm I think right now it's about a 6-team race. That Auburn, Tennessee, Florida, Alabama, Duke, and Houston. Those 6 teams, honestly, and I'm putting Michigan State. Anytime Tom Izzo's got a good team, I'm putting them in there. This seems like a team that's going to make a Final Four run. He makes a Final Four every 4 or 5 years. Those 7 teams are my teams that I think can win a national championship. I'm not a true believer in St. John. I honestly think they may be a little bit overrated too, Richard, when talking about St. John. They got good wins, but again, against their toughest opponents, and they did beat UConn today, an unranked UConn team today. Purdue, Indiana, able to beat Purdue. So they look like, in Mike Woodson's last year as a coach, they look like they're going to be heading into the NCAA tournament. But I think those are the 7 teams. Not a believer in Iowa State, A&M, no. Wisconsin, no. Michigan, no. Missouri, Kentucky. I mean, these are good teams. These are teams that can get hot and, yes, make a run. But I'm talking about the best teams in America. I think it's Auburn, Florida, Duke, Alabama, Houston, Tennessee, and then Michigan State. Those 7 teams I think can win and cut down the nets and have a national title. Who would be the teams in your opinion, Richard?
Well, obviously you got to start with Auburn. I think that Auburn, Florida is another team. I really like Houston. I always think that Michigan State is going to have a deep run, not necessarily win a championship. And look, Dan Hurley, a great coach at UConn, even though they don't have the same players, I don't think they're going to three-peat, but I think that UConn gets in the tournament and they could rattle off some wins and get to the Sweet 16 because that's what UConn does. But I think that some of these conferences, like the Big Ten, is a little down this year. I think that the Big 12, even though Kansas is not the team they once were, you're adding Arizona to the conference now. You're adding, you're adding Utah, and you've got some teams in the Big 12 that are, I would consider Arizona blue blood, and now they're in the Big 12 with the Kansas, and you got the likes of Baylor's, and you've got some good teams that. Yeah, I tell you, this tournament is going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm telling you, don't ever count out Memphis. Look, Penny Hardaway and what he has done. I mean, they've had some great players, Jalen Durden, James Wiseman, but I don't think they'll ever get back to the John Calipari years.
No, but they're still competitive, and they can still get hot at the right time. I'm with you on them about Memphis. I do want to, before we wrap up the show and talk about where we're going to be this week, I do want to talk a little NBA and kind of the state where the NBA's at. I know Cleveland and Oklahoma City have the 2 best records, but I think the 2 best teams, in my opinion, are Boston and Denver. Now, I know Denver just lost to the Lakers. I have a Denver Lakers. If you ask me right now, halfway through the season, I'll put you on the spot, Richard. Who would be your conference championships? Who would be in the Western Conference and Eastern Conference finals? If the standing say as follows, I think the Lakers would take down the Thunder. I think Denver would beat the Grizzlies and eventually be the number 2 seed and host. And honestly, I think Memphis will be the 3 seed, and I think Golden State's going to be in the 6 seed because they just won again today over Dallas, and I think Jimmy Butler has transformed this team and give them a newfound confidence. I got Denver OKC semifinal, Western Conference semifinal, Denver Golden State semifinal, OKC Lakers, and I got Lakers Nuggets in the conference finals, and then I got Denver winning it. Now I know the Lakers won today. It took a magical performance from Luka Doncic, but I think Denver just playing great basketball. They were on like a 10-game winning streak. They have been playing fantastic basketball. Have the Nuggets. I think Nikola Jokic is the best player in the NBA. I'm going to go Denver Lakers, Denver in the finals, and I think we're going to get Boston, Denver. I think Indiana is playing great basketball, but I think the Bucks, with the addition of Kyle Kuzma, I think it's going to be Bucks, Boston, Eastern Conference Finals. I think the Knicks, unless they can catch up, they're 4 games back and get home court. I think they lose to Boston in the semifinals and they don't make the finals. I think if you're the Knicks, I would almost rather be the 4 seed and play Cleveland on the road in a 7-game than Boston. That's just in my opinion. I wouldn't want to play. I know many people like to say, if you're going to get a team, you want to get them early, not late when they're playing good basketball. I disagree with that. I think Boston, they could have injuries. You don't know how Kristaps Porzingis is going to play. I would take New York wanting to play Cleveland in that semifinals to get them to the conference finals. So I'm going to go Boston, Milwaukee, the way the seedings are set, even though I think New York's the second best team. And I got Boston, Denver in the championship. And I have this year winning the MVP. It's probably going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because the Thunder, I think, are going to finish with the best record. But I would give it to Jokic again, man. If they finish as a 2 seed, what he's done this year and the numbers he's putting up, Richard, do you know what Jokic is doing right now? Have you seen his numbers? 29, 12, and 10. Okay, let me put this into perspective. Shaq never scored more than 29 points a game in his whole career. Jokic has done that. Jokic is averaging just as many. Now, Shaq did put up that year about 15 rebounds. He put up more rebounds than Jokic did, but not even close to the assist. Jokic at 10.2 assists a game. He's putting up a triple-double. He is the best stat goer and best player in the game. It's not even close right now. Don't even argue with me. I would give it to Jokic. Now, I think Jokic fatigue. They're not going to give it to him. They're probably going to give it to Shai Gilgeous because OKC is going to have the best record. But again, I would not be surprised, and that's who my vote would be. What about you, Richard? Who would be your vote for MVP? Who would be your final NBA conference finals pick and finals pick?
Well, I admit I'm a little Jokic fatigued as well. Right now, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he is leading the NBA in scoring, and OKC has the best record in the NBA. I think it's a scenario like when Derrick Rose won the MVP in 2011 that I think they might give it to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, which will motivate Nikola Jokic to push the Denver Nuggets all the way to the NBA Finals.
Richard, I don't think people understand. It's one thing when you're a guard putting up a triple-double like Russell Westbrook did. A center is doing this. This is historic.
It is historic, but,
he's having his best year of his career. He's having better years than his other 3 MVPs, Richard.
Michael Jordan didn't win the MVP. Michael Jordan didn't win the MVP every year. The 97 when Carmelo won it, that motivated Michael Jordan to beat him in the finals. I mean, I think that the voters might vote.
He felt
Shai
disrespected.
Yeah, I think that the voters want to try to get somebody new, and I'm saying that Jokic is the MVP. I mean, I would not be shocked if it is Jokic, but I think that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to get MVP.
I'm with you. Can I put up an example? Remember in 2011, LeBron won back-to-back finals. LeBron had a better year. He led the Heat to a second round, but it was like LeBron fatigue. But even then, LeBron, that wasn't the best year of his career. He had a good year. He was the best player. But, people could say, you know what? It's not LeBron's best year. He didn't have overwhelming stats. He is the best player, but let's give it to Derrick Rose. He was the number 1 seed. Nikola Jokic is having a career season. He's doing something historic, putting up a triple-double. I don't know if that's ever been done at the center position for an entire season, man. It's one thing to do it in one game. For an entire year, how is the Joker not the MVP? But I'm with you. I think easily they could vote for Shai Gilgeous. They also could vote for Giannis Antetokounmpo if the Bucks start playing well. I don't think so because I think they're not going to catch the Celtics or the Knicks or the Cleveland Cavaliers. In Cleveland, Donovan Mitchell's played great, but I just can't put him in the mix. Hit 24 points a game. And then only 4.8 assists, 4.3. He's been a great player, but I wouldn't say MVP caliber by no means. So we'll see how the rest of the season plays out. But right now, that's who I would give it to. And I am really hurt about this Victor Wembanyama situation. It reminds me, remember the blood clots that Chris Bosh had to deal with, and he never was able to come back. They think he'll be able to come back and be fully healthy, but this is a scary situation that he has blood clots in his arm. He's going to have to take blood thinners. He cannot play the rest of the year, and you don't want that for a 21-year-old who is supposed to be the face of your league. So, again, I'm hoping that this doesn't pan out the way it does. It is a scary situation with Wembanyama and them. Not life or death. I'm talking about long-term effects it could have injury-wise for him heading in to this upcoming year, Richard. It definitely could be scary. So we'll see what happens in that regard. And I'm interested. I think the NBA right now is really a coin toss. It's an up for grabs league, and I look forward to seeing how the rest of the season plays out, man. It should be a lot of fun to be able to see that. And by the way, the Knicks woes versus the East, they have had a bad year versus the East. If you look at the New York Knicks by the way, against the conference, 13 losses compared to single digits for Cleveland and Boston. And a lot of those losses have come to Cleveland and Boston, the top two teams in the East, and in Indiana too. So New York needs to start playing better ball against top-notch competition. Any other things you want to talk about with the NBA, Richard, before we wrap up the show?
Yes. JB Bickerstaff is my coach of the year. The Detroit Pistons is the best story in the NBA.
I agree with you. 100%.
This was a dumpster fire of a franchise. Monty Williams should never get another head coaching job again.
Right.
You have Cade Cunningham is having, and
right.
I can't believe they're doing this without Jaden Ivey. Most of the year they've lost Jaden Ivey. Only played 30 games, but they have this nucleus of players, and they've added Dennis Schroeder, and right now they are a 6 seed. They would be in the playoffs playing the Knicks. And there's just something about Detroit sports right now. Michigan winning the national championship. The Detroit Lions in the NFC championship 2 years ago. The Detroit Tigers.
Getting better.
The Tigers making it to the playoffs.
And by the way,
you're on the clock.
Asir Thompson's great. Tobias Harris has been good. They're doing this without Ivy, who's out for the year, and Cade Cunningham, who many people thought, is this guy a bust, is putting up 26 points a game, close to 10 assists and 7 rebounds. He is every bit the number 1 overall pick, and they have a bright future. I'm with you. There is no question in my mind who the coach of the year was. And if you want to say, is it who's done a good job, Kenny Atkinson over in Cleveland. It was between him and Bickerstaff. The OKC coach got it last year. It's either between him or Bickerstaff, but I'm with you. Everything that Detroit has gone through these last couple of years, Cleveland was still a playoff team last year. He's just taking them from a playoff team to a contender and maybe winning a championship. But for what Detroit does and JB Bickerstaff and getting fired by Cleveland too, to be now on a 6-game winning streak, the number 6 seed, they're officially in the playoffs right now. Don't even have to do the play-in game. Congratulations to them. All right, this week on Georgia Alabama Sports Live, we actually got Northside Glenwood baseball tomorrow. Then we have Coastal Alabama and CVCC basketball. It's sophomore night. It's the final home game of the regular season for the basketball program. So we look forward to seeing them wrap up with wins against really good Coastal Alabama teams. Then we should be at Columbia at Hardaway Elite 8 game and Central at Calvary Soccer on Tuesday. Wednesday, we should be at Spencer Carver Elite 8 game. On Thursday, we potentially may be doing Northside Calvary, and then that's pretty much going to be it. We won't have a ton of stuff because Richard and I and the Georgia Alabama Sports Live crew will be helping produce and call the state championship games for the GIAA. So a lot of our focus and resources will be dedicated towards that. It will not be on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. It will be on GIAA.tv. So we'll be there for that. And then guess what? We'll restart again next week. And don't forget, March 16th, we've got to change the date. Not March 2nd, March 16th at the Beck Center is Spring Media Day, where teams can bring their track and field, soccer, tennis, and golf can bring their teams for a media day. I can't wait, Richard. Should be a lot of fun for that. And it's going to be a great week of basketball and a bunch of other stuff. I know you're excited about it too.
Yeah, and I do want to read some of these comments. Daniela Boynton, Rihanna Boynton's mother says, Hawk Nation.
Yeah, we will be there. We will be there. Hawk Nation, we talked about it. By the way, if you're just joining us, earlier in the show, we talked about the Hawks and Kelly Ellison's team dominating the first 2 weeks, going to dominate on Tuesday. But if the GHSA approves us, which we're crossing our fingers, I've done everything we're supposed to do, we should be there to produce and broadcast Columbia Hardaway, and then we're going to be there for Carver Spencer. But for the semifinal games, the NFHS will be doing those. We will not be allowed to, but as we know, but I would assume the NFHS would be there. So we are crossing our fingers that we get approved. The only way we wouldn't be able to do it is because the NFHS said that they're going to be there to do it, I had told the GHSA, Richard, hey, we've done 70 Muskogee County games. The NFHS has not been there for one of them. I haven't heard one school game on the NFHS here in Columbus. They should, and it's for the city, they should not make people pay to watch those games. Let us do it. We'll pay the broadcasting fee. I don't care. I want to be there for an historic moment to watch Hardaway and Carver and Spencer be there. Okay. I would hope that they will allow us to do that. If we are not allowed, trust me, it is not by our own doing. Okay. We want to be there for that. And I'm putting it on the schedule as we are going to be there. I'm going to promote it as we are going to be there. That is Hardaway, Columbia, and Carver Spencer boys. We'll be cheering on the Carver girls, and we will be calling Pacelli and boys and girls on Thursday. We won't get to put it on our platform, but me and Rich will be calling the game and having a lot of fun. Thank y'all so much for watching. Like, subscribe, and keep letting us know how much you appreciate us, because we keep appreciating you and your support of what we do here on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. And I will see you bright and early tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock on the Sports Vision Morning Show from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. every weekday morning on Sports Vision 92.1 FM. Cannot wait to rehash the weekend with DJ Jones. Thank y'all so much for watching. We'll see you next time on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. Thank you for watching the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. You're ready to smile.